For a while now, I've been thinking about TikTok as a platform for content creators. I think that there has been some advantages to TikTok that haven't come along with other social media platforms, but there's a few things in particular that I've realized from using it myself that maybe makes me think that it's not such a good thing. And of course, this video is going to be based all on my personal observations, so if we have differing opinions, that's completely fine. There are going to be people out there that love TikTok and love using it, and I think all power to you if you do feel that way. But as a content creator that's used many platforms over the years for social media, TikTok has definitely been one that stood out and not always for the right reasons. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the problems that I have with TikTok and why I may not be focusing on it too much in future. If you're new here, my name is Kaylee and I'm a beauty and fashion photographer based near Sydney, Australia, but I'm also a content creator and I started this channel a few years ago to talk about all things social media, content creation, business, and freelancing. And it'll be interesting to see in the comment section below how you feel about this particular platform and your experience with it, because I'd love to hear different points of view with this. But without further rambling, let's get into the video. So one of the main problems that I have with TikTok, and I think a lot of people have this issue with it, it's quite a commonly known issue, and it's the fact that it's addictive and not in a good way. Now, I think in some ways, coming from a content creator's perspective, you would think that this would potentially be a good thing, because if people are addicted to TikTok and they're wanting to see your content all the time, then it can only be good for you. But I think as a user of TikTok, as well as a content creator, I can see both sides here, and I'm really starting to feel that the addictiveness of it is above and beyond not a good thing. Now, everyone might be different with this. You might be able to control your addiction with TikTok a lot better than I can, but there have definitely been times when I will finish work for the day and I will sit on the couch, and quite often you'll be there for hours just scrolling through. And I've talked about this a bit on my channel before, and I've talked about how curating your feed, I think, on social media is really important to make sure you're consuming content that you actually want to consume. I think it's really important to do that because it sort of saves you from falling into the trap of watching mindless content that you just do not want to watch, you don't want to consume. It's maybe not helping you in any way, it's not entertaining you, it's not really doing anything. So I think that that's a really good way to avoid that trap, and to start finding stuff that maybe inspires you on the platform and curate your feed in that way. Now, I've been on TikTok for a few years now and I have still not managed to curate my feed, and the algorithm still pushes so many things at me that I do not want to consume, I don't want to watch. And yet here I am sitting there on the couch for a few hours every night, scrolling through and watching things that I don't really care about. I've found it significantly harder to curate my feed on TikTok versus curating my feed on Instagram. Now, Instagram has a whole host of other issues, which I'm sure we all know is true, but at the same time, I feel like I can go on Instagram and I can either scroll through photos, I can look at inspiring photos on there, I can go through my reels, and I can really start to curate my reels feed by going to people's profiles who inspire me and actually watching more of their reels, favoriting their reels, and it really easily does curate that feed for me. I also feel like it's not as addictive as TikTok. TikTok is almost like a source of boredom cure, where you physically just can't be bored anymore because there's this phone sitting in the palm of your hand that has an app that basically has access to everything and anything at any given time. So if you're bored, you get on and you start scrolling. And I found that it's really not been the best use of my time to do that. And I kind of feel guilty afterwards. Like, I'll sit there scrolling away, and then after a couple of hours, I'll be like, you know, I could have done something that I actually enjoyed, or I could have watched something, or I could have painted something, or I could have just done something else that I really enjoyed. That is not something that I necessarily enjoy. And I know for a lot of people out there, you're going to disagree with this, and it's going to be something that you do enjoy. And potentially that's where you get your entertainment these days. I totally get it, because I also get some entertainment from TikTok, obviously. But at the same time, for the majority of it, I do find like it is mindless scrolling. And I don't think that that bodes very well for content creators on the platform. And that's what I'm going to get into next. So this is a point for content creators, and it's actually about low conversions on TikTok. And it's something that I've definitely heard about many times before as a content creator. TikTok is not always considered a high value platform compared to Instagram and YouTube. And this is mainly because I think a lot of brands tend to have lower conversions on this platform. They also won't consider your TikTok following to be the same level as your Instagram following or your YouTube following, for example. They're generally considered to be a higher value following if you've got followers on those platforms. TikTok, you can seemingly build a much bigger audience with a lot less effort than those other platforms too. And I think that's part of the reason why brands do view it this way. I think it's also the lack of content that you can actually produce on TikTok. So mainly it's just short form content, short form videos, whereas Instagram, you also have posts, you've got carousels, you've got stories. Obviously TikTok has stories as well, but I do think on Instagram, stories has always been utilized for marketing. And then you've got YouTube, which of course if people are sitting down to watch a long form video of say 15 to 30 minutes, then you're going to have several opportunities to integrate an ad into the video, or maybe you'll just have the whole video as a dedicated video to that brand. So there's, I think, a lot more options with other platforms that allow you to earn better revenue compared to TikTok, and you'll also likely get more conversions because a lot of the time your audiences on those platforms do care about your content more. Along with this problem, I think that attention spans are so short on TikTok. Of course they are on a lot of platforms these days, but specifically with TikTok, it's to the point where you might get followers pretty easily on the platform, but within a few days, a lot of the time they may have forgotten about you, about your content, they don't really care anymore, they've moved on to something new. That's how it can really feel at times on TikTok, which I think is also the reason why it doesn't always translate well to having other platforms on top of TikTok. So for example, if your main following was on TikTok and you also had an Instagram and you had a YouTube channel, but you had less of a following on those platforms, I think that TikTok can be a really difficult platform to transfer some of that following over to those other platforms. Because again, I think that people lose interest very quickly on TikTok, and quite often they really don't leave the app itself. I really think that one thing TikTok does have going for it is the engagement is usually pretty good. I find that people seem to be very engaged on TikTok, and I think that's what a lot of content creators do love about it, is that they can really engage with their audience. And it's just a bit more nice as a content creator to have that kind of community with a platform. With Instagram, I know this can be a lot more challenging to achieve. I've said this before, but it sometimes feels like a shop front in Instagram, and a lot of the time people just are not willing to communicate with you, and a lot of the time creators don't communicate with their audience as well. So they're two very different platforms in that way. I will say, like I said, that TikTok has engagement going for it, but I do find that it is short-lived. I think building communities on TikTok can be short-lived, and this can be a real issue when it comes to long-term growth on a platform or building a business or a brand long-term for yourself. I think this is where a lot of my issues are stemming from with TikTok, is that people just don't seem as interested in staying around long-term. And that's kind of a problem, because although this can happen with any platform, I do find that I still watch videos and content from people that I followed nearly 10 years ago on both platforms. I don't know if I can say the same about TikTok. This could be more of a personal thing, but I don't know if I can actually say the same about this particular platform, because I've followed people only around a year ago on TikTok, and yet I still don't really keep up with their content, and I don't follow them and really look at their stuff to this day. So I've kind of moved on to other creators really quickly in that sense. But again, this could be more of a personal kind of thing. This is why I'm really interested to hear your opinion on this. And I'd love to hear if you do have any specific issues with TikTok or any problems that you've come across with the platform. I'd love to hear what you think. Or do you really love TikTok and you prefer it over other platforms? I'd also love to hear your opinions on that too. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video today, and if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel already, make sure you do, because I'll be posting a lot more videos like this one. As I said, let me know down in the comments what you think about this topic, and whether you have your own struggles with being addicted to TikTok at times, and whether you think it's a good thing or it's a bad thing. I'd really love to hear all opinions on this, so make sure to comment down below. Also, let me know what you'd like to see next on my channel, because I'm always open to requests, and I'm still trying to figure out what kind of content you'd like to see on my channel, so feel free to suggest any down below. But thank you so much as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.